S.Yolanda, thank you for your interest and assistance in the PP Settlement Reunion Project. We are both dedicated to the preservation of our family's history. I am Shirley Pritchard Nolan. I am the daughter of Lawrence and Hazel Anderson Pritchard, and I am a member of Historical Eden Baptist Church. Hello, YouTube family. When I think of a community reunion, my mind rewinds to many community events of my youth. London basket meeting, Roxabelle baptizing, Big Rock, and Eden Baptist Church anniversary every year. The Ralston Pike County Community Reunion will reunite these families. Let us come together and have a fun-filled day. The PP Settlement Reunion Committee, we are sponsoring a reunion with a purpose. September the 7th, Yatanji Park, Chillicothe, Ohio. Entertainment, DJ, food trucks, vendors, and history display at the Pump House. Trolley tour, including David Nickens Museum, and much, much more. September the 8th is the Eden Baptist Church will be celebrating 200 years of faithful service to the Pike County community. Reverend Milton J. Dean Sr. is our pastor. The PP Settlement Reunion has a mission to recognize, restore, and preserve 5 cemeteries: the Eden, Pritchard, Roberts, Davis, and Barnett cemeteries. The Davis and Barnett cemeteries are in serious condition and need immediate help. Please join the PP Settlement Reunion Group on Facebook and receive reunion updates. I am sure you will enjoy the following videos and interviews. Thank you for viewing and thank you for your support, and God bless you.
Viewing audience, do I have a treat for you? We are still talking about the PP settlement, and there is so much to be learned about our history. These things you don't get in the history book, but guess what? We are going to learn about it on S.Yolanda in the Know, and they got a very, very important event coming up this year that you need to be there. But on our show today, we have Dawn Edwards, who is, she can tell you about how she is connected to PP Settlement. Dawn, how are you today?
I'm doing well, and you?
Oh, I'm doing fine.
Perfect.
Now, PP Settlement, how are you connected to the PP Settlement?
Well, when my different branches of families, when they migrated to Ohio, they settled in the PP Township. I descend from Minor Muntz, who was supposedly, I've not been able to find a whole lot of information on him yet, but he was the offspring of a slave woman and a white father. And then there's the Barnett line that came from Virginia, down by Albemarle County in Virginia. Minor Muntz came from White Sulphur Springs, which at the time was in Virginia, but that's now is in West Virginia now, with border changes. And then Henry Harris is my third great grandfather, and he came from Virginia and migrated up here and amassed a substantial amount of land. So did Minor, a substantial amount of land. And when they decided to run the train, they needed to put the train going through the area, through Harris Station. They basically named it Harris Station, and they chose Henry Harris's land because he was the only person around that could read and write. So the train had to stop there for the mail, and they would just drop off the mail back every time they had to go through.
Okay. Do you know what city in Virginia that was in?
I do not off the top of my head, because
Okay.
I've seen him saying, I seen that he on his death certificate says he was born in Virginia. His discharge paper says he was born in Virginia, but then somebody else told me it was in Person County or Granville, North Carolina. So I believe I'm going to go with the death certificate and the military record.
Okay, with the Virginia.
That it
he
was
was
Virginia.
born in Virginia.
Yeah,
okay.
probably around Halifax is where I'm guessing.
Okay, but and he was a Harris too. All right.
He was a Harris. He was a
Okay.
free person of color. He was never one that was enslaved. His father was Elijah Harris, and he was a free person of color. When he was age of 7, I think his mother died, and he was apprenticed out by his grandmother to someone to learn a trade, and he married a woman named Betsy, and they had a large family. I'm going to say a passel of babies, but yeah, they had a large family, and I don't have a whole lot on them because I've not had the opportunity to go down to Virginia.
Yes.
But Henry came up north, and I have been in his cabin that he had.
It's in PP?
Well, down in that area. It's in Harris Station,
Oh, wow.
which is all part of what they consider the PP settlement.
Oh, okay.
And it was unfortunately, when I saw it, it was unfortunately covered. Someone had covered it up in vinyl aluminum siding. But I've gotten the chance to tour through it. It was very, very nice. Bev Gray, who I know you've spoken with,
yes.
was wonderful and helping.
Yes.
She lived there after her marriage. She lived in the cabin. But then the gentleman that owned the land where it was at then, he put siding on it, and then it eventually got torn down.
Oh,
So I did get a
okay.
chance to videotape and see it.
Oh, so you do have that on tape. That's awesome. Yeah. Now, you know what? When you talked about being a free slave, most of us, and I always thought that free slaves had the same privileges as the white folks. And then I found out that they didn't. Could you are you familiar with some of the barriers that were put in place for the free slaves, the challenges and things that they had to go through?
Well, they were coming up through Pike County. Pike County was a particularly racist area. I think even into the 1960s, it was still considered a sundown town where blacks weren't allowed in the city after dark. But they came through there, and they were never. He was never a freed slave. He was born free, and.
Yeah, he's born free.
He was born free, so
Okay.
it was a little bit different. Supposedly, from what I understand from some research, his father was part Native American or Native American, but the federal government doesn't recognize that because they only recognize you if you attended one of the Indian schools, and he never did. So.
So how was he? How did people what did they consider him, or did they just was he considered Native American or
Mulatto?
Mulatto. He was
Mulatto.
considered a mulatto.
Yeah. His discharge papers that I have has him listed as his complexion as being yellow.
No. Okay. Wow. Now, PP seems to be, when I talk to people that went there, that a lot of people want to go back there, and I guess particularly to Eden Church. Could you talk a little bit about that? I mean, it seems like maybe once or every year, people that grew up in that settlement, they want to come back and meet everybody.
Well, I go down there regularly just for relaxation, or if I just or de-stressing or whatever. I will drive down there and will go to the cemeteries. I'll go to the Eden Baptist Church Cemetery and walk around there and talk to my relatives, my ancestors that are there. There's also a cemetery in Harris Station, that's the Roberts family cemetery, and there's a lot of family members I have there, so I go there frequently as well. Was just down there this past Saturday, and they had a fish fry, and Shirley and I went with a few other people, and we went to the Barnett Cemetery and the Davis cemeteries, which are both overgrown, and we're looking at trying to see about getting them spiffed up and maintained, cleaned up and maintained, because we were in weeds up to my knees.
Ooh, wow.
But it was still fun.
Wow. Shirley goes down there every weekend.
Yes, she does.
Just to de-stress. It must be a good place to go
I've
to de-stress.
gone down. I've met her down there after I find her, and I've gone down there and stayed with her.
Yes, she says, I'm getting ready to get out of here now. I'm trying to get, she goes down there to her RV and just de-stress and comes back rejuvenated.
She is, yeah. And I went down there with her too, so it was great.
Wow.
It was great fun.
Wow. Now, speaking of fish, I understand that there's somebody, I forgot who that is, but they say that they cook the best fish, and that's going to be at the reunion in September.
Yes.
Do you know who that is? Who's that they said is going to be cooking that fish?
Well, normally it's Shirley.
Oh, okay. All right, it's Shirley.
It's normally
okay.
Shirley, or there's a young man. I think he might have just graduated. I don't remember what his last name is.
Yes.
But his name is Madison.
Yes.
And he was doing the fish while Shirley and I, with the other people, were running around looking at cemeteries.
Oh, wow. And so that event is going to be held up in September, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Uh-huh. Oh, okay. Now, and there's a museum down there that everybody will be going to. It's got, could you talk a little bit about that one?
The Nickens Museum is actually in Chillicothe proper.
Okay.
It's right next door to First Baptist Church, which is also celebrating its 200th anniversary this summer.
Oh, wow.
And I think July is when theirs is, and I think Eden's is August, September. And so, yeah, it's a very nice, very small, it's a very old home, obviously from, I think, late 1800s. It's kind of creaky and everything when you're walking up the stairs, but it's wonderful to go there. There's a room for the Underground Railroad, and there is a picture of my third great-grandfather, Minor Muntz. His home is on display there, and he's mentioned in records that he was an operator on the Underground Railroad, as was Henry Harris and James Barnett. All of mine. All of them were ancestors of mine.
Oh my God! How does it feel when you can connect with history? What did it do for you when you could connect? You knew you had your relatives that were part of the Underground Railroad and fought in the Civil War. How did that?
Immense
what did
pride.
that do for you with history, knowing history?
Immense pride.
Oh,
They
wow.
actually burned down Minor Muntz's house.
Wow.
And that would have been, I don't know if it would have been Klan or anti-abolitionists or whatever, but they burned his house down.
Oh.
And he was building a new one, and every evening, I understand that he sat on his front porch with a shotgun, because if anybody was going to come and try and burn it down again, they were going to get they're going to get
they weren't going to get out of there.
Yeah, they're going to get their comeuppance from messing with that.
Yeah. Enter at your own risk.
So he did that. But
oh my God!
But Minor Muntz he also amassed a good amount of land, and he where the cemetery is, he donated the land to the church. And the cemetery is really great because it's up on a hill, so it's not a big hill, not hard to walk it if you wanted to. You can drive it up really easy, but it also, you won't have any problem with flooding, so that's really nice.
Oh my goodness! And you said that in some earlier interviews, they did say that once the people that settled in PP got settled, they had their businesses, they were flourishing and doing great as a community. Here comes these evil people to just destroy everything that they had built.
Yeah.
And many people, I understand, moved here to Columbus, Ohio, and Xenia, Ohio. Yes,
They did. Minor, like I said, he did amass a good bit of land. It was really interesting to look, at that community and how tightly woven they were. I had an opportunity to look at Madison Hemmings, who of course was the child of Thomas Jefferson and Sally Hemings. His will, and one of the executors of his estate was Minor Muntz. So
somebody, you're
my people in there, and so they were very, very tightly woven, and they were very supportive of each other too.
So that was really a community, and it seems like you're still a community, even though people have left the PP settlement. People come back. They talk about coming back and meeting over there at Eden Church, and everybody fellowshipping and rekindling relationships and everything. It says it says a lot about that community and how. You didn't forget each other. It seems like you still stay connected.
They do. I remember as a child, what they used to call the basket Sundays. And we would go to church in Chillicothe. We lived in Chillicothe, so we would go to church at First Baptist, and then later in the afternoon, you'd go, after that church service was over, you would drive out to either London, Ohio. They had one, Big Rock, which is further in Pike County, Eden, and I can't remember what the other one was. But you did basically, they called them basket Sundays because you brought a picnic basket to feed your family, and you sat outside under the trees in a little lawn chair and ate, and then you'd go back in for church service when they were ready in that respective church. I remember Eden had a couple of outhouses, and I remember being very young, and my mother and father both bring me there for church, but then I remember my mother taking me into this outhouse to go to the bathroom, and I took one look at it and about flipped out. Yes. And she got me settled down to go on ahead and do it. She said, "You're not going to sit on it." So she had me all together, and it was great. It was great. It was great.
All right. Now, what can people expect when they come to the reunion? And it's not family reunion. It is the PP settlement reunion. Yes. What can they expect when they come in?
Welcome. They will be so welcome, and they're going to feel welcomed.
Wow.
It was too many different families, and to have individual family reunions. Do it as the PP settlement and get everybody.
All right. And that's going to be held what dates again?
I think it's September 7th.
September the 7th. And you can go to the Facebook page, and also at the end of this video, we'll have more information on how you can be at this year's PP Settlement Pike County reunion that's going to be in September. We'll see you next week, and I'd like to thank you for being on our show, Don, and I'll see you next week, and I love you. Guess what? And you can't do anything about it.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.